This is the test review for Chapter 8. So we're going to go ahead and get started. So what are the next four multiples of 1/8? Remember, multiples are when you are skip counting. So and it says the next four. So that means that 1/8 does not count because it's already given. The next four. So that means we have to have 1, 2, 3, 4 extras. So we have 1/8, and the next would be 2/8, 3/8, 4/8, 5/8. Think about if you were stepping along a number line, what would each step be? Okay, number 2, Marta is making 3 servings of fruit salad. She adds 3/8 of a cup for each serving. Her measuring cup holds 1/8. So you don't technically need to use this 1/8 yet. So really what we're trying to solve is 3 times 3/8 because we're making 3 servings and each serving uses 3/8. So first I'm going to go ahead and shade in 3/8. So this is my first serving. This is my second serving. This is my third serving. Now I could just count these and see, okay, I'm going to have to scoop my blueberries each time I have one of these shaded because each one of these is 1/8, and that's how big my measuring cup is. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 1/8. Now we can do this mathematically by doing the whole number times the numerator, so that's 9/8, and we know that 9/8 is the same thing as 9 times 1/8. So either way works. Number 3, Mickey exercises 3/4 of an hour every day. How many hours does he exercise in 8 days? So for 8 days, he does the same amount. So 8 times 3/4, because this is how much he does each day. He does that for 8 days. So once again, we're doing our whole number times our numerator, which is 24. My denominator stays the same, so 24/4, and then I need to reduce that. 4 goes into 24 6 times, and 6 times 4 is 24, which means there's nothing left over. So he exercises a total of 6 hours. Moving on. Okay, number 4. Molly is baking baking for the Moms and Muffins event at her school. She will bake 4 batches of banana muffins, and she needs 1 3/4 cups of banana for each muffin. So before we get started, I'm just going to come up with what my equation should be. So I know I'm doing 4 batches, and each batch, there's our keyword each here, needs 1 3/4. Now, she's already completed this, but she made a mistake, so we need to find her mistake. The easiest way to do that is to do each step and see if she's right. So we can see automatically she did get the initial equation correct. So then we know we need to turn this mixed number into an improper fraction. So 1 times 4 is 4 plus 3 is 7. So then this should be 4 times 7/4. So we can see that that's where she made her mistake because she said 8/4. So when we say what was her error, we could say that she made the improper fraction incorrectly. Now, the next part says now that we know the correct answer, we need to solve it. We need to find out what the correct answer is. So we've already done the second step, which was to turn it into an improper fraction. And again, it's our whole number times our numerator. 4 times 7 is 28/4 because our denominator stays the same. 4 goes into 28 7 times. 7 times 4 is 28. So there's nothing left over. So she needs a total of 7 cups for her recipe. All right, so the next one says, which fraction is a multiple of 1/9? Mark all that applies. That means we've got to check all of them. What this is essentially telling us is if I go and I count by 1/9, which ones of these will be on my steps? So 1/9, since this is the denominator of 9, I know that that will be my third step. and I know that 4/9 would be on my steps. I know that 2/9 would be on my steps and 9/9 would be on my steps, but I'm not going to get 12ths or 10ths if I'm counting by 1/9. Right, next, Mimi recorded a soccer game that lasted 1 2/3 hours. She watched it 3 times over the weekend to study the plans. How many hours did she spend watching the game? So we watched it 3 times, and each time it lasted 1 2/3 hours. Once again, we're going to have to first turn this into an improper fraction. Multiply, then add. 1 times 3 is 3, plus 2 is 5. So that means my new problem becomes 3 times 5/3. Now I can solve it like normal. 3 times 5 is 15. The denominator stays the same. And to simplify, 3 goes into 15 5 times. 5 times 3 is 15, so there's nothing left over, which means she watched 5 hours worth of soccer footage. All right, the next one. Number 7, Theo is comparing shark lengths. He learned that a horn shark is 2 3/4 feet long, and a blue shark is 4 times as long. So whenever you see times as long or times as many, you know you're drawing this kind of model. Complete this model. So we know that if it's 4 times as long, we know that each one of these boxes has the same amount as the top box. So they all have 2 3/4 in them. Now I need to do the math to figure out the total. Now I could add all these up, but we've been learning how multiplication is a faster, more efficient way to add repeatedly. So we're going to do 4 times 2 3/4. Again, we're going to turn this into an improper fraction. So 2 times 4 is 8, plus 3 is 11. So my new problem becomes 4 times 11/4. 4 times 11 is 44/4, and 4 goes into 44 11 times, which is 44. So that means there's nothing left over. So that means the blue shark is a total of 11 feet long. All right, number 8. Joel made a number line showing the multiples of 3/5. That means that each time he jumps, he's jumping 3/5. The product 2 times 3/5 is shown by the fraction what? So 2 times 3/5, remember we do the whole number times the numerator, so 2 times 3 is 6. My denominator stays the same. Now this one's always tricky because I always have kids automatically go to the end of the number line, but that's not what this is asking, so always pay very close attention to what the question is actually asking you. Number 9, Bobby has baseball practice Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Each practice is 2 1/2 hours. So initially, I know that he practices for 3 days, and each practice is 2 1/2. Now he says that he practiced for 4 hours. So without multiplying anything, how do we know he's already incorrect? Well, if I look at my problem, I know that 3 times 2 is already 6. We can do that in our head. So 3 times 2 equals 6, and that's without the whole number. So we know he's automatically wrong. Now it says, how long will he practice? This is where we need to solve the real thing. So here's our equation. We're going to turn this into an improper fraction. 2 times 2 is 4, plus 1 is 5, so 3 times 5/2. Whole number times my numerator, that is 15/2. 2 goes into 15 7 times. 7 times 2 is 14, so when I subtract that, I have 1 left over. So 7 1/2 is my final answer. Okay, number 10, look at the number line, write the missing fraction. So we're just figuring out the next multiples. So we have 1 6 2 6 3 6 4 6 5 6 6 6 7 8 7 6 8 6. So we're counting by 1/6, so that's 9/6, 10/6, 11/6, and 12/6. All right, next one, number 11. Anna's dachshund weighs 5 5/8 or weighed 5 5/8 pounds when it was born. By age 4, the dog weighed 6 times as much. Fill each box to write a number or symbol from the list to show how you can find the weight of her dog at age 4. Not all the numbers will be used. So I like to ignore this for a minute and go with the information that I've been given. So I know that we're doing 6 times as much as it was when it weighed. So that means 6 times as much as the birth weight was 5 5/8. And then I can always go back and check and see if those numbers are there, which they are. But it's easier for me, honestly, if I just go off of the problem. All right, next question, number 12. Asta made a fraction number line to help her find 3 times 4/5. So each jump is 4/5. She's doing 3 jumps. Select a way to write the product as a product of a whole number and a unit fraction. So first we've got to solve it. So when I have 3 times 4/5, 3 times 4 is 12. My denominator stays the same. Now, when it says to write a product of a whole number and a unit fraction, we know that the unit fraction always has to be a numerator of 1. So I can automatically get rid of this one because that's not a unit fraction. So now I'm left with 12 times 1/5 or 6 times 1/5. So in order to turn 12/5 into a product of a whole number and a unit fraction, that means I'm doing 1/5 times how many to get 12? Well, times 12. So 12 times 1/5 is our answer. Okay, number 13. Yusuf wants to give 1/3 of his total car collection to each of 2 of his friends. How much of his total car collection will he give away? So we're doing 1/3 to each friend times 2 friends that he's giving them to. And that equals, remember, whole number times the unit or the numerator. So that is 1 times 2 is 2. Denominator stays the same. He's giving away 2/3 of his toy car collection. Okay, number 14. Select the correct product. Product is the answer for each equation. Remember, it's whole number times our numerator. 4 times 5 is 20, and we have eighths. So this one is 28. You could draw a line or you could write it in. It doesn't matter. Okay, next one, whole number times my numerator. 4 times 4 is 16, and our denominator stays the same. So here's my 16/8. And that means we don't use either of those ones. All right, number 15. The lengths of different types of snakes at a zoo are shown in the table. For numbers 15A through 15D, select true or false for the statement. So this one is going to require you to do some work. So let me just get a scratch paper. So the first one says Bobby. So we can see on the table that Bobby is 4.5 feet. So for A, we have 4.5 means equals 4 times as long as Kenny. Kenny is 1 1/2. So we have to see if this is true. So I'm going to ignore this for a second and I'm going to solve this problem. Multiply then add. So 1 times 2 is 2 plus 1 is 3. So my problem becomes 4 times 3/2. 4 times 3 equals 12. Denominator stays the same. 12/2 is 6 because 2 goes into 12 6 times. So the answer is not 4 1/2, so this one is false. Okay, B, we have Bobby again. So that is 4 1/2 equals 3 times as long as Kenny, which Kenny we already did was 1 1/2. So same thing, we're doing 3 times, and we can just use what we had up here because we already did that. So 3/2. 3 times 3 is 9, 9/2. 2 goes into 9 4 times with 8. When we subtract that, we have 1/2 left over. So yes, that is the correct answer. So this one is true. Okay, the next one says Puck is 5 times as long as Kenny. So something equals 5 times as long as, we already know Kenny is 1 1/2. So when we look at the table, Puck says 7 1/2. So we are checking this equation, 7 1/2 times 5 or equals 5 times 1 1/2. We know that this becomes 5 times 3/2 because we've already done it. 5 times 3 is 15 halves. 2 goes into 15 7 times with 14. So there is 1 left over, so 7 1/2. So yes, we can see that this one is true. And the last one says Puck. So we know Puck is 7 1/2 is 2 times as long as Bobby, and Bobby is 4 1/2. So now we're going to solve this one. We're going to, same thing, we're going to turn this into an improper fraction. 4 times 2 is 8 plus 1 is 9. So we have 2 times 9 halves. 2 times 9 is 18 halves. 2 goes into 18 9 times with nothing left over, so we can see that this one is false. All right, next question, number 16. Hank used 3 1/2 bags of seed to plant grass in his front yard. He used 3 times as much seed to plant grass in his backyard. Front yard and backyard. How much seed did he use for the backyard? So we're doing 3 times as much as the front yard. So again, we're going to have to turn this into an improper fraction by multiplying the add. 3 times 2 is 6 plus 1 is 7. So our new problem becomes 3 times 7 halves. 3 times 7 is 21 halves. 2 goes into 21 10 times. When I subtract 20, I get 1 left over. So he needs 10 1/2 bags of grass seed. Number 17, Jess made a big kettle of rice and beans. He used 1 1/2 cups of beans, and he used 4 times as much rice. Whenever you see times as much, we know we are comparing two things. So we have beans and rice. We know that rice is 1 1/2, so we can give it 1 box and fill it in with 1 1/2. And since we're doing a multiplicative comparison, like the times as many, we're going to draw 4 boxes for rice because it's 4 times as many. So we're going to fill this in with 1 1/2 in each thing. Now we've drawn the model, now we need to solve it. It says use your model to write an equation. An equation is this times this equals this. That means you have to have the answer. So to figure out the rice here, we're doing 4 times 1 1/2. Let's go ahead and solve it. So we have to turn this into an improper fraction, multiply and add. So our problem becomes 4 times, 1 times 2 is 3 plus 1 is 4. Or 1 times 2 is 2, plus 1 is 3 halves. So 4 times 3 is 12. We have the same denominator. 2 goes into 12 6 times. So my final thing is 4 times 1 1/2 equals 6. This is my final equation for the rice. All right, last couple problems. Number 18. Mrs. Burnham is making modeling clay for her class. She needs 2/3 cup of warm water for each batch. So that's going to be something important. Mrs. Burnham has a 1 cup measure that has no other markings. Can she make 6 batches only using the 1 cup measuring cup? So what this is essentially asking is our answer going to be a whole number? So we're doing 6 times 2/3 because we're doing 6 batches. When we solve this, 6 times 2 is 12. Denominator stays the same, so 3 goes into 12 4 times. Nothing left over. So since my answer is a whole number, yes, she could do this. Now it says describe 2 ways we can find the answer. So we can multiply. We also know that we could do 2/3 plus 2/3 plus 2/3 plus 2/3 plus 2/3 plus 2/3, and we would still get 4. All right, the next part says the modeling clay also calls for 1/2 cup of cornstarch. Nikki says Mrs. Burnham will also need 4 cups of cornstarch. So we're still using 6 batches. So we're using the information from the first problem. So 6 batches, and each batch needs 1/2 cup of cornstarch. 6 times 1 is 6. Denominator stays the same, so we have 6 halves. 2 goes into 6 3 times with nothing left over. So do we agree? No, because she needs 3 cups of cornstarch, not 4. All right, number 19, Donna buys some fabric to make placemats. She needs 1/5 yards of each type of fabric, and she has 9 different types of fabric to make her design. Use the following equation to write the number in the box to make the statement true. So 9/5 is what she needs, and that is equal to something times 1/5. Well, we know that we're only multiplying the numerator. So 9 times something, or sorry, 1 times something equals 9. Well, I know 1 times 9 is 9, and that's going to be a whole number. Number 20, Mr. Toyin uses 5/8 of a tank of gas each week to drive to and from his job. How many tanks of gas does he use in 5 weeks? So we are essentially doing 5 times 5/8. 5 times 5 is 25/8. That's one of our answers. The second answer, we have to turn this into a mixed number. So 8 goes into 25 3 times, and we know 25 minus 24 is 1 left over, so it's 3 and 1/8. All right, Rico is making 4 batches of salsa. Each batch needs 2/3 cup of corn. He only has a 1/3 cup measuring cup. How many times is he going to have to scoop? So that's all that's asking is how many times is he going to have to scoop his 1/3 measuring cup to answer this question or to meet this demand. So we have 4 batches that each need 2/3. We're going to solve this first. 4 times 2 is 8/3. And we know 8/3 is the same thing as 1/3 times whatever our numerator is, 8. So he's going to have to scoop it 8 times in order to make his salsa. On this test, guys, there's a lot of problems that require some extra steps. So please make sure you have a scratch paper with you to do all your work along the way. I hope this test review helped. Have a great day.